Okay, Shalom Akim, Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Makakwadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone for teaching us his truth. Salutations to the sincere Akim and Aqua that may listen. May the blessing of election be upon your house. My name is Brother Requai. I'm back in here with another quick on Lord's will, as always, an edifying lesson. And for today's lesson, I just wanted to go through this quick article, and it was inspired by a lesson that the Apostle Kabar made. Let me see if I could find it real quick. All right, so here's the lesson here. It says the so-called, so it has in quotations, excuse me, black and white narratives must be destroyed by the truth, and it's true, right? Those are truths that are but essentially been made up by our enemy, right? And what I want to do, I just wanted to read this quick article and kind of go into a little bit of the history of it. The article is quite long, so I'm just going to go through a couple paragraphs just for the sake of time, and I sincerely excuse me, I sincerely pray that this lesson is edifying, right? So, and at the end, I'm going to post the attach the article to the description box, right? So you brothers can check it out for yourself. You know, scriptures say, "Prove all things," right? I'm not here to, I'm not making stuff up, right? So the article is called "How White People Got Made," right? So we're just that's referring to the construct. So here it says, as time went on, the labor needs of the land holders continued to grow, and desperate to cultivate the land. They were loath to let go of their bond servants and bondmen and bondwomen's children, whom they kept in bondage for a legally defined time as well. In the meantime, the growing American peasantry, from proving as difficult to govern as the European peasantry back home, periodically rising up in riot and rebellion, light skinned and dark skinned together. Political leaders of the Virginia colony struck upon an answer to all these problems, an answer which plagues us to this day. Continuing on, it says the Virginians legislated a new class of people into existence, the whites. They gave the whites certain rights and took away rights from blacks. The whites, as a language of people, as a language of race, appears in Virginia around the 1680s and seems to first appear in Virginia law in 1691. And thus, whiteness, and to a degree as well as blackness, was born into the mind of America, right? So that helped to solidify those constructs that people still adhere to this day, and you Israelites are still under that vibration of so-called black. I'm talking about you so-called Negroes from the islands and you Haitians, even the people, even the other nations, they use that to describe us, right? That's a construct that still is upon us today. But that also solidifies the curses too, because the scriptures say that we become a proverb, and a byword, right? So that's one of the examples of a byword that was placed upon us as a people, rather than actually calling ourselves Israelites, right? The ye are descendants of the power. So, so that's an example. If you could think about it as and an unrighteous decree as well, right? Because it created a lot of division and it created more confusion amongst their people as well. And even during this time as well, you had a lot of so-called Seminole Indians, as well as the Choctaw and the Chickasaw and the Cherokee, and you so-called Native Americans. As a matter of fact, even during this time as well, through these different legislations that Esau had put forth, it created a lot more confusion, because you had a lot of so-called Native Americans back then that were a lot darker, like when you think about your typical so-called Negro, like Denzel Washington. A lot of them were a lot darker back then too, so that created a lot of confusion for them as well, right? Continuing on, it says, as of the 18th century, whites could not permanently enslaved as they sometimes had been before, and black slaves could never work their way to freedom. The whites were told that this was because God had made the blacks inferior to the whites, and the whites were inferior, and the superior classes that owned property. So, this is the justification for that. The real truth is that, we are the superior people. You Israelites are the superior people. We are the holy people. As a matter of fact, before I continue, let me get that. Just 1 second. Okay, I'll start at verse 21. And this is Genesis 25, verse 21. And it says, And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was barren, and the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah and his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord Yahweh. And the Lord said unto her, Two nations are in thy womb, and two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger, right? So this is going into the birth of Jacob and Esau, and we are the stronger people. You Israelites are the stronger people. We are the people who are, we're more stronger, we're built differently. For example, even during slavery, there was even Esau understands this too. During slavery, I forgot what they were called. I believe they were called, give me 1 second. Let me just Google this right quick. I believe they were called, hold on. Okay, there was a so-called Negro slave named Patasika, a black slave forced to father children from enslaved women, right? So there was a slave. He was in. Okay, so here it is. It says Patasika, born Roque Jose Florencio, was a remarkable figure in history of slavery in Brazil. Taken into slavery at a young age, he was forced into hard labor and subject as to being a breeder, fathering over 200 children, right? So he says, standing 7 feet tall and weighing at about 300 pounds, he was chosen for the role for the misguided belief for his physical attributes would yield strong offspring. So this is what I'm referring to here. These other nations understand that, we are a superior people. We are a strong people, right? That's why I think it was in Japan earlier this year, they wanted a lot of they were essentially paying, so-called black people to come and, kind of try and, light a fire and, stimulate the growth of their economy, right? Because one of our commands was to be fruitful and multiply, right? And, this is something that, Jake is very well known for. Even Ephraim as well, he is fruitful. That's something they kind of get kind of ridiculed for, so to speak, right? This is how backwards this kingdom is, right? But the point really is to show that we are a stronger, superior people, right? And on top of that, also we are a holy people unto the Lord thy power, and the Lord thy power have chosen thee to be a separate people, right? So I just wanted to prove that point about us, being strong, us being stronger than the other nations. Let me just go back to the article. Just bear with me on this. Okay, so it says it's worthwhile to remember that they didn't give whites political rights. They didn't give whites the vote. That would not happen, nor at the revolution and independence. Whites didn't get the vote until presidency of Andrew Jackson. Property owners, both land and slaves, were the only ones who could vote. That included black and slave owners. So you had a lot of Israelites that actually had land, especially you so-called Native Americans, Seminole Indians. A lot of Israelites actually had land and had a lot of substance back then. But through a lot of Esau's atrocities, through his different unrighteous decrees, for example, like the Buffalo Massacre, it was his way to kind of like, push Jake into a corner, right? And then, essentially, him to actually take and use his crafty words and use his unrighteous decrees to try and take away a lot of those resources from you, right? And that was one of the things that Esau did to our people, was to essentially massacre lots of the buffalo, because they understood that Jake used the buffalo to for medicinal properties. They used it for the different purposes, right, to actually benefit, and then that's what Esau did to try and capture that those lands, right, those strongholds, because they had a lot of substance, right? You Israelites had a lot of substance in America, and a lot of that substance you lost, right? But let me bear with me on this. Okay, continuing on. Let's see if there's some more here. Okay, so here it says this plan worked gorgeously. It broke all efforts of the majority of the people, African and European, the fight for civil and political rights in America against a land class that ruled everything. It reduced a portion of the people to status of a Negro slave and gave the poor, but now white people, a precious and entitled inch to stand above the permanently enslaved and a social ladder, right? So it kind of gave them an edge upon people who didn't, weren't classified as so-called white, right? This is a construct that he came up with. This is not real, right? Esau is not white. There's nobody on this planet is white. He is red, right? Let's get Second Corinthians, because the apostle is right. We destroy these different constructs and we don't adhere to these different constructs, because these constructs are essentially it's a mindset of the world, right? This is not a mindset that the Heavenly Father created. This is a base mindset. 2 Corinthians 10 verse 3, and it says, for though we walk in the flesh, we do not war after the flesh. For our weapons of our warfare are not carnal, but mighty through the Most High Yahweh, Bashem Yahushai, to the pulling down of strongholds, casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalted itself against the knowledge of the Most High, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of the Mashiach Yahushai, right? The Lord created nations, and He has chosen one nation to be separate, to be special, to be strong, right? Just 1 second. Right, so this goes into the mindset of the world, right? That's why the scriptures say that the wisdom of this world is foolish, because it really is. And then on top of that, you have a lot of our people still adhere to these different these bywords, and then they think, I don't know what it is, man. Like, and then on top of that, when you go through different institutions like Harvard and all these prestigious institutions, those norms, those fake, what do you call those? Those fake nationalities get reinforced more and more as as long as you sit in that sit in those philosophies, right? That's what the scriptures say. Why spend money for which is not bread, and your labor that satisfies you not, right? You spend money, go into these schools, and these schools reinforce this BS philosophies that don't actually satiate and satisfy you and bring you any clarity. And that's what the truth does. It's supposed to bring clarity to a situation in darkness, because the scriptures say darkness have covered the earth, and gross darkness the people are in gross darkness, right? So especially you Israelites. Okay, let's see, let's go on. Let me see if there was any more here. Okay, that's pretty much it. I think I'll just bring on a couple more precepts. The article is quite long, so I'm gonna That was kind of the main point, I just wanted to hit in regards to the legislation, and then that legislation, led to these constructs that we know today, right? And these people, our people are still in darkness because of these constructs that are created by their enemy. And essentially what it does also is it also dims your vibration to call yourself black, right? We are not void of light. As a matter of fact, let's go into the word and the etymology real quick, since I have it in front of me. Just bear with me. That's why we always say so-called black through our apostles and elders on down. That's why we always say so-called black. We're not black people, right? We're not. There's no such thing as white people, right? There's no such thing as Hispanic people. So here it says absolutely dark, absorbing all light, of color, of soot and coal. It says, hold on. Oh, here it is. It says without light. Moral or spiritual. In Latin, niger or nigger. It says gloomy, unlucky, bad, wicked, malicious, shrouded in darkness. It says with dark purposes, malignant, right? So that's the word. That's the vibration that that it brings upon you, Israelites, because that's what you're drawn to. That's the kind of music you adhere to, right? Because you don't move as people who are actually illuminated in righteousness. You move as people who are illuminated in wickedness, right? Scriptures say that the Lord has planted thee a noble vine, a holy and a right seed, but we've become essentially a strange vine unto me, to roughly paraphrase, right? We're drawn to these different ways of the heathen, and that makes us essentially dark, especially learning the ways of Esau. That makes us dark, rapping and talking about inflicting harm upon your own kin or on your own people. That makes us dark, right? That doesn't make you that's a black vibration. That's not an Israelite vibration. That is not Israelite culture, right? You're uncultured, right? You need to be trimmed. You need to be cultivated, right, in righteousness, obviously, right? Let's get. This is one of my favorites. Let's see. Okay, Baruch 4 and 2, and it says, turn thee, O Jacob, and take hold of it, and walk in the presence of the light thereof, that thou mayest be illuminated, right? And there's nothing wrong with, being, being illuminated. You can be illuminated in righteousness, right? And understanding our culture. And that's what makes us illuminated. Scriptures talk about wisdom maketh a man's face to shine. And knowing these things and walking in the ways of these things, that's what makes us, as Philippians. I forgot how it goes in Philippians. Let me just get it before I mess it up. Philippians. Okay. Just bear with me on this. Philippians 2 verse 15, and it says, that ye may be blameless and harmless, the Son of the Most High, Yahweh, without rebuke in the midst of a crooked and perverse nation, whom among ye shine as lights in the world, right? We're supposed to be a beacon of light shrouded in darkness, right? Because we have this understanding and knowing who we are, it makes us, people are actually, and that's another thing too, walking in the presence of the light thereof, it makes people can be drawn to it, and people can also kind of like scoff at it, like for example, if you're sleeping late at night and if you're sleeping in the dark, and then I don't know if your brothers or a few sisters probably knew this, like your parents come in and when you were younger, your parents come and open the door and they turn all the lights on, you're like, come on, you know what I'm saying? That's what this light does, right? That's what this light should do. People are going to be very drawn to it, and then also people would be they would scoff at it because it exposes, their intents, their malicious intents, their wicked ways, so on and so forth, right? But this is what walking the presence of the light thereof, does, right? So Esau essentially, his the things that he's done, it goes deep, right? This is not somebody who has just lynched you and attacked you physically. He's broken you mentally as well. Revelation 20 verse 7, and it says, "And when the 1,000 years expire, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison, and it shall go to deceive the nations in the four quarters of the earth. Gog and Magog gathered to them, gather together to battle, the number from whom is as the sand of the sea." Right. So 1,000 years, being the time where the Israelites ruled, known as the medieval times, known as the Dark Ages, and then Satan was loosed of his prison. That's where you get the Renaissance, right? A man would come after the workings of Satan, pursuant to Second Thessalonians, right? It wasn't the spiritual demon Satan, and then this is part of the deception that Esau has done to the world and then done to Israelites as well, right? Not just deceiving the images, but deceiving, and putting these false constructs over your minds that still even exist to this day. And what the truth does, because the Lord said he will reveal his secrets unto his servants, the prophets, we're breaking those different strongholds. That's what, the apostle was trying to reiterate in the lesson. I didn't finish it, but, I was so inspired to kind of go into it and shed some more light and add to what the apostles was saying, right? So, that's pretty much about it. But hopefully this video was edifying. Just like to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Until next time, I say Shalom.